I love that though.
And that's really heavy, right? Because we're talking about, you know, death in the family. We're talking about like the throne and ascendancy. And I mean, these are heavy subjects, even though this game has such a beautiful, colorful aesthetic.
A very lighthearted feel.
It's still, there's, you know, at the core, it's a very emotional story, right? I mean, that must be important to the level 5 team to tell those stories.
It is. The storytelling is one of the key things that level 5 really wanted to make sure they create for their role-playing games that they do. So taking a cue from their partnership with different people that collaborated on the games, on the original Ni no Kuni and on Revenant Kingdom, it really goes into working with people who have worked on just great animated masterpieces like Studio Ghibli films.
Right.
So because of that, that kind of coming-of-age story that really translates through, you know, young kids, parents, adults, everyone can kind of relate to it. There's kind of those threads that go through both the original Ni no Kuni and Ni no Kuni 2 as well.
So now we got the demo going already. I mean, easily gorgeous game.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So thank you for pushing the PlayStation 4 forward into the future.
Yes.
But yeah, tell me a little bit about this demo, because this is kind of new footage that we're seeing here.
Exactly. So for this demo, so E3 is the first time we're actually doing hands-on of Ni no Kuni 2, which is great. For this demo, at this point in the game, Evan has to pass a trial of courage in order to earn the right to become a leader of a kingdom. And so this is the trial he's going to face. And so he's going to have to battle a really big gorilla. His name is Thog, and you're going to see him in here in a second. And so one of the things, so you will have to battle him to pass this trial. But one thing you're going to notice when you see this footage is that the battle system has been completely reimagined. Okay. So in the original Ni no Kuni, it was kind of a hybrid of real-time action, but also with menus where you kind of gave commands to your familiars and those other characters.
Right.
Here, everything runs in real time, so it's full action combat.
Wow.
You'll see right now, Evan, of course, he has a lot of different attacks at his disposal. So he's got different short-range attacks. He can do combos. He has a wand for long-range attacks. He can also cast or use special skills. And so those skills are all kinds of different magic effects. And then one new thing for in the battle system are those little sprite-looking characters. So
and they are called?
And they are called Higgledies.
Higgledies.
They are Higgledies.
I love that.
Higgledies. I love them.
And so you can see they have kind of a mind of their own. So they have their own intelligence. They'll attack the enemies. They'll do different things. They'll distract them. But at the same time, there's kind of two main functions for them in battle. And so one of them is when you see that little light circle, that's when the Higgledies kind of gather together, and then you can give them a command, and then those commands that you can give them will buff your party.
Oh,
so
wow.
they will either increase your defense, increase your attack, sometimes they'll heal you. The fire ones, so the little orange-red ones, they'll put up a fire shield that will block most, or if not all, fire damage. And so, so that's one way that you can use the Higgledies. The other is when you're using skills, you can charge those skills, and then the Higgledies that are close to you, they will kind of jump in and they'll augment your skills. So if you have like a water ball attack, like a long-range attack, and then you have the fire Higgledies kind of jump in and augment it, then you'll do like a fire-water ball attack. And
so much going on the screen right now. I'm obsessed with these Higgledies, dude. I mean, look, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna get a Higgledy tattoo. My next tattoo.
Where?
Right here.
Right on the chest. Right on the chest.
No, there's so much going on, and like you said, this is so different from the original combat system.
Yeah. Let's talk some more about some of the changes you guys made with the combat. Now, to my understanding, you can actually switch characters in combat too.
So on the fly, you can switch to any of the characters in your party. And so in the E3 demo, we locked it out, but like for this battle, you'll be able to switch between Evan, and in his party there's Roland and Tawny. So you can switch on the fly. They all have slight variations of their strengths and skills, and so you can definitely use the different characters that you want to use to battle the different bosses.
Nice.
Some of the fun little nuance things as well is so all kind of real-time combat systems for role-playing games. You can block, of course, you can guard, but then one thing that they incorporated was also it has a just guard feature. That's not the official name, but that's what I'm calling it. So very much like in fighting games, in some fighting games, if you kind of tap that block or you tap block, at the right time, you can basically do a parry. Here it's not a parry, but you can basically negate damage if you do that and you get kind of a nice to show up. So there's lots of little nuances that they did to kind of incorporate the skill of the player while you're in battle without breaking the whole kind of leveling up system as well, because the action RPG's combat is really tough because you need the leveling and you need the progression of your characters to grow stronger as you play through. But then if you have control of your characters in like real-time combat, then a lot of times what you're doing doesn't really have a big effect on the outcome of the battles. It's usually okay, well, I'm strong enough, I'm leveled high enough, so I can spam attacks and just make my way through. So there's lots of little nuances that Level 5 took from adventure games and even some fighting games to where they worked that into the combat system.
That is excellent.
So here against Thog, so he's got him about what, 3/4 defeated right now.
I think we got this in the bag.
He's got it. And what's really fun is when you see like the bosses and all the enemies, all their animations and all the character that they have. It's so great because there's all these little details that you don't even notice. Like there's times where he'll kind of stop, he'll kind of scratch his head, and things that are not really necessary for the actual combat, but they're just fun little animations that help give character to not just your characters, but also to the bosses and the enemies and the higgledies and everybody.
I almost don't even want to beat this boss. He's kind of cute in his own gorilla-like way. I mean, let's be honest. All right, I know you guys get asked this question a lot, but if someone didn't get to the first Ni no Kuni, can you just jump into this one and play?
Yes, you can jump right in. The characters and the story are completely different, so it doesn't tie to the first Ni no Kuni at all. Again, Level 5, they wanted to make sure that new fans and old fans could enjoy Ni no Kuni 2. So the story, the characters, even the world itself is different than the original, so you don't have to have played that first game in order to enjoy Ni no Kuni 2.
All right, excellent, good.
Is there a large assortment of the higgledies?
So there are. So we haven't unveiled all of them yet.
Okay.
And so there are quite a few, but what we have shown so far, so a lot of the higgledies are based on different elements. Elements. So you have fire ones, wind ones, water ones, and there's also kind of it's kind of Earth, but I don't think we're calling it Earth. It's kind of a non-elemental higgledy. So those are the ones we've announced so far. And then there are more. And then what's also fun is there are both the higgledies, and I believe they're called higgledy-piggledies.
Are you
for the normal guys?
Are you joking?
And then there are higgledy heroes. And so the higgledy heroes are kind of you could almost call them the leader of each type of higgledies, and those are the ones that travel along with Evan as he goes on his adventure. And the other ones kind of pop up, and they're almost like the minions of the higgledy hero, so for each element.
Right.
So my spirit feels rejuvenated after listening about higgledies. After that Detroit demo from earlier today, I was so stressed out.
Now
we're now it's all like, it's all light and breezy now.
Were you about to, sorry.
I was going to ask about the familiar, because you guys haven't forgotten about them.
So we haven't forgotten about them, but the familiars are not in Ni no Kuni 2, unfortunately. So they've been not replaced, but some of the new game systems that Level 5 wanted to put into Ni no Kuni 2. One of those systems is the higgledy system. And so we'll unveil even more details about that. Like we've shown the combat, we've shown, I believe, in the first time we showed the first time we showed the game, we showed how, like, when you're going through dungeon areas, how they can help you traverse into different spots. But then there was that, but then also one new thing we're unveiling for E3 is the kingdom system. So the kingdom system, we're not giving all the details about that yet. So we're going to unveil that slowly as we get closer to launch.
Dennis. I want to know everything right now.
But with that kingdom, so in the story, Evan, if I kind of go through, so what we've unveiled so far is, of course, Evan gets, kind of pushed out of Ding Dong Dell. Mousinger, who's that kind of rodent rat-looking character that kind of led that coup in the original trailer. So he basically took over Ding Dong Dell as king. so Evan now has no kingdom to rule over. And so, of course, first he has to earn the right to become a leader of a kingdom again. But then after that, he ends up having to build a kingdom. And so that's where the story and basically where the player comes in. I mean, the player is controlling Evan all throughout anyway, sure. But that's where everything kind of converges together, where Evan needs to build a kingdom. Right. And so he needs to go to all the different kingdoms and talk to other characters and people in the world and kind of recruit them to come into his kingdom. And then that's where the player also gets to build their own kingdom and customize it. And you can task different townspeople to different tasks in your kingdom to build it up. And so you have full control over how you're customizing that kingdom as you move forward. Nice, because that's what I liked about the first one. There was this heightened sense of progression. And I'm glad you guys are keeping that Exactly. So that kind of that RPG metagame is still in there, but it just kind of switched from the familiars over to the kingdom. Yeah, and it makes sense from a story standpoint too. Yes, indeed.
Dennis, I'm so glad you came on to show us Ni no Kuni 2, so thank you so much. And thank you, Malik. And Dennis, parting words from the PlayStation community before we leave. What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, we're so proud to be bringing this game to fans, finally this holiday season. And the game itself, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's a coming of age tale, and it really seamlessly kind of blends the sensibilities from from theatrical, animated movies and and role-playing games, and it merges them together into this kind of art form that becomes Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. And so, definitely when it comes out November 10th, 2017, PlayStation 4, definitely check it out because it's such a great game.
Perfect ending. Dennis, thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you, Malik.